Hey you guys, welcome to book review number 83. Today I'm going to be reviewing Sri Lanka, the Emerald Isle. Man, that's really shiny. And so this really isn't like a very long narrative book. It does have like articles and stuff in it. But really I read this over the course of one day. It's about 90 pages, but the majority of it is, I don't know if I can get it open, is like pictures, yes. This one, this one. Yeah, that's kind of cool. I think that's some fishermen that are doing traditional Sri Lankan fishing. Yeah, they got a little painting, looks like. This one, mango sellers, festival. You know, some temple with all the lights lit up. I think that actually might be a Christian temple. But anyway, it's not all pictures. It has kind of like the broad history of Sri Lanka, kind of covering some of the cultures, the arts, different, craft work, kind of the history, as I said. Let's see, what did I like about it? Yeah, it really just gave kind of a broad view. It didn't really talk about some of the struggles that Sri Lanka has had with the rebels of the Tamil Tigers as much as I would maybe like. They did mention it, but it was clearly a book meant to present Sri Lanka in a favorable light. Not that that is necessarily wrong. There is plenty to like about Sri Lanka, you know. This giant, Buddha right there with all the saffron and orange. I guess that's orange. Can't think of a good word for orange. Robes going on. Yeah, let me see. Let me look at the index to see if there's anything additional. Forward. I guess it's the land and its people, religion and cultures, colonial consequences and independence, festivals and celebration, the lively arts, ancient murals, traditional architecture, men and women, nation's destiny. That last one, Sri Lanka is one of the most emancipated for women countries in Asia, traditionally a region of the world where women don't have very many rights. Let's see. I'm just enjoying kind of looking through this. I got something like this. Obviously well, not obviously, if you don't know, but the history of Sri Lankan colonialism kind of went through three phases. First being the Portuguese, who were primarily traders, the Dutch, who were also traders, but kind of nominally took control of the entire coastline, and then the British, who really were true colonizers and considered Sri Lanka, also known as Ceylon at that time period, true control of the country. It also talks a little bit about a number of the kingdoms. Let's see if I can get there. This is like Adam's Peak in, it's like Prylash or Prylatesh or, no, it's, one of them's like Prylash and one of them's like Annapurana or whatever. Let's see, I think it might be 23. I found that interesting just because the various kingdoms are very strongly tied to the Buddhist tradition in Sri Lanka. Buddhism being, unlike the subcontinent of India, the predominant religion in Sri Lanka is Buddhism. The Tamils in the north are primarily Hindu, which is where a lot of the conflict is taking place. But yeah, it was believed that the not bonsai tree, banyan tree, that the Buddha gained enlightenment under a sapling, or like from that tree, was taken to Sri Lanka and planted in a auspicious spot in that country. At which point that was like the kind of impetus of Buddhism. It also talks about some pre-Buddhist peoples, the kind of hunter-gatherers, if you will. The Buddhists are primarily known, I mentioned the Tamils, who are kind of later arrivals mostly from the Tamil state in India and are Hindu. The Senegalese or Sinhalese, I believe, is the name of the majority people, the Buddhists within within Sri Lanka. That kind of the Tamils, because it's the closest to India, kind of controlled roughly the northern third of the country, and the Sinhalese controlled the bottom 2/3. Yeah, just kind of, I guess, Kandy, just an interesting fact. First of all, that's an interesting name for a dynasty, but that was kind of the last dynasty that was controlled by the Sri Lankans themselves before the British fully took over. And kind of what's interesting about that is that it became, sort of isolated, so that kind of folk traditions became more preserved, if you will, not in the way that like if a country is decimated all at once, there's a chance that because it's only one generation, that a large part of the tradition might not be passed on. Because the colonization of Sri Lanka was very gradual and for the most part non-violent to a degree, there is sort of a very strong heritage and history. And actually it mentions in the book that where a lot of timetables, if you will, of Indian traditions were lost either by the Indians themselves or because of colonization, both sides contributed. They were actually compared against the timelines of Sri Lankan history and historical events that were taking place at similar time periods in order to place events within Indian history in context. Let's see. Yeah, this is Sigiriya, Sigiriya. And actually what's interesting, this is one of like the 3 or 4 different capitals. But this, unlike being a city, is a true, like, I think of Ayers Rock almost. It's just a giant monolith rock that, was built on top of, for only one generation of kings. But what's interesting about, and you can see this amazing carving right in here and right in here. What's interesting about this king is that he kind of broke from some of the more staid traditions of Buddhism, which tends to be not as flamboyant as Hinduism. Now, he didn't become Hindu, but he basically kind of, the arts and crafts, particularly the louder arts and crafts, really thrived during this time period. I want to say it's, the 5th century. What is the name of the kingdom? Come on. Casbah? Well, I guess the Sigiriya, which I can't pronounce, is the main one. Well, anyway, for such a short book, I'm running a little long. I've shown a lot of pictures, kind of gotten some interesting facts, which kind of basically sums up this book. It's not really a narrative book, so I'm going to leave it at that. Sri Lanka, the Emerald Isle. This is a really good book. Fun book. Fun little read.